From an intergalactic bounty hunter to exploring gay romance in the West, exploring Pedro Pascal's strange way of life, will it actually be good? Two of Hollywood's premier Pedros worked together to put together a short film that has Tinseltown buzzing. Strange Way of Life is a short film about two cowboys who fell in love years ago before reuniting after being estranged. Sweet, sad, and way too short, the brief flick marks the next evolution in Pedro Pascal's eclectic career. So let's take a look at how everyone's daddy got to this place. Pedro Pascal was born in the South American country of Santiago, Chile, as Pedro Balmaceda. Both of his parents were highly educated and participated in revolutionary movements in a very turbulent time in Chile's history, and his parents' involvement against the dictator Pinochet put them in danger. After seeking refuge in Venezuela, the Pascals ended up getting political asylum in Denmark when Pedro was still a baby. From there, they moved to the United States, where he was raised. Pascal attended the New York University Tisch School of Arts, where his acting chops were sharpened. Before tragedy hit his family, Pedro's father was indicted for a scandal at his fertility clinic, and Pedro's mother and his other siblings moved back to Chile. A year later, Pedro's mom committed suicide. In honor of his late mother, Pedro changed his last name to Pascal. Handsome and talented, Pedro's career got off to a quick start. He landed roles in hit shows like Homeland, The Mentalist, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Graceland, The Good Wife, Law & Order Criminal Intent, and Law & Order Special Victims Unit. But it wasn't until 2013 when Pedro Pascal played the character that truly introduced him to the world. In the mid-2010s, the entire world seemed enthralled by HBO's Game of Thrones. A darkly realistic fantasy show, Game of Thrones hooked audiences with political intrigue, complex characters, and maybe their signature gimmick, killing off audience favorites in the most gruesome and surprising ways possible. Pedro Pascal played Oberyn Martell, the angry, jilted brother of a woman who got murdered by the villainous Lannisters. His character brought something new to Game of Thrones. Enhanced by his multi-layered portrayal, Oberyn was sexy but dangerous. He could seem carefree at one moment, but then deadly serious and driven the next. People loved Oberyn Martell. Then the showrunners killed off Oberyn Martell in a way so brutal I'm still a little traumatized. His time in Game of Thrones boosted Pedro Pascal's career, making him one of the most in-demand actors in Hollywood. It led to some roles in movies such as a special agent in Kingsman: The Golden Circle, as a villain in Denzel Washington's Equalizer 2, and a comedic role in Nicolas Cage's The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Though his most famous character came in the form of Din Djarin, the star and title character of Star Wars: The Mandalorian. The Mandalorian saw Pascal's Din Djarin trying to protect a young alien, Grogu, while adventuring through a dangerous galaxy. The show was a smash hit for Disney+, as well as the most well-received and beloved spin-off of the international phenomenon Star Wars movies. It's a testament to Pedro Pascal's acting abilities and charisma that he was able to be so endearing in the role of the gruff bounty hunter, especially since he spends 99% of the show in full armor with his face covered in a helmet. This was the start of the feeling among some TV and movie fans that Pascal was a daddy, or in other words, a handsome older fatherly figure who is as attractive as he is strong and protective. Most actors could rest on the laurels of being in one of the biggest TV shows of all time like Game of Thrones, and being involved in perhaps the most successful franchises in the world, Star Wars. But that's when Pedro Pascal told everyone to hold his beer. He was about to star in maybe his most iconic role yet. 2023 saw Pedro Pascal star alongside Bella Ramsey in another mega hit for HBO, The Last of Us. Adapted from the PlayStation video game of the same name, The Last of Us saw Pedro play Joel, a grieving father who'd given up on the dreary, depressing world after losing his daughter during the outbreak of a fungal zombie apocalypse. Through a series of events, he finds himself looking after Ellie, played by Ramsey, who is somehow immune. It's his job to protect her and escort her to the West Coast through an extremely dangerous and lawless US. This is when Pedro reached peak daddy status. It's also when he reached his apex as a cultural figure, ever present in online memes and pop culture. We all fell in love with the guy. That's when a Spanish director famous for his risky, strange, and creative films, Pedro Almodovar, came calling. Almodovar made eccentric, boundary-pushing films like The Skin I Live In and Volver. Apparently up for the directing gig for the movie Brokeback Mountain back in 2000, he lost out to Ang Lee. Ever since, Pedro Almodovar wanted to make his own cowboy gay romance film. The opportunity came with his 2023 short film, Strange Way of Life. What is the 30-minute film about? Pedro Pascal plays Silva, a Mexican rancher who comes riding on horseback into the town of Bitter Creek. Silva is in town to see the sheriff, Jake, who's brought to life by fellow veteran actor Ethan Hawke. We learn that it isn't the first time the two men have met. 25 years earlier, the seemingly carefree, lighthearted Silva and serious, angry Sheriff Jake had a fleeting relationship that both men held on to tight in their hearts. Both were each other's one who got away. The two men drink some wine before going to bed together. All the drama comes from the fact that Jake is actually on the hunt for a suspected murderer, Silva's son. Strange Way of Life is packed to the brim with Western tropes and style, from tumbleweeds blowing in the wind, six-shooter shootouts, and over-the-top melodramatic soundtrack, and an old-fashioned type of cinematography. Reviewers have loved the film, going so far as to say they just wish there was more of it. Here's what they have to say about the short. Emma Sasek of The Desert Sun said it was the melodramatic, quarreling lovers Western you've always wanted. Ethan Hawke and Pedro Pascal are great together. I so wish this was a feature-length film. Clayton Davis says Strange Way of Life begs for more and a full-length feature version. Pedro Pascal and Ethan Hawke sizzle in the Spanish Western with wondrous colors, gorgeous music, and engaging camera work. Pedro Almodovar can do no wrong. That's pretty high praise for the director. Lex Bersuso perhaps had the most interesting review, saying, Strange Way of Life is a delicate glimpse into the complicated emotions of men coasting past friendships to find themselves connected, and later tormented by the unexpected bond love can naturally build. Wish this was a full feature, but Hawke and Pascal shine. What will Strange Way of Life lead to? For starters, it's shown Pascal's ability to play broader roles, not just a protective action hero role. It will also endear him more to women and gay audiences, only enhancing his daddy mystique. Some close-minded people might take issue with his portrayal of a homosexual character, but something tells me that those naysayers will have little impact on Pedro Pascal's career. Pedro Almodovar finally got to make a film that he's had in his head for decades, and Ethan Hawke got a chance to shine again on the main stage, next to one of the hottest actors in the business today. While I don't think that Strange Way of Life makes Pedro Pascal a queer icon, it does and will make audiences love the man even more, and I didn't think that was even possible. Pedro Pascal has gone from frequent starring roles in some of television's biggest hits to turn one of the most watched programs in history on its head with the sultry, dangerous Oberyn Martell. Pascal has melted our hearts while raising our pulses in The Mandalorian, as well as depress us and make us feel in The Last of Us. And now he's bringing us a rare gay western. We just explored Pedro Pascal's Strange Way of Life. It will be good.